We are back. Hello again. Let's press that so I can see the chat for good measure. So, our next scene on the boat is going to feature... okay. So, it is going to feature Drut. Would you like to roll me a d10, Drut, to see whether there's going to be 3 people involved in this one, or whether there is 10. That is a player choice. Mm-hmm. So you get the opportunity for a bit of metagaming here, because I've already admitted that if Chrono isn't already involved in this scene, the bosun is going to call him up to deck anyway. So who would you like to share this scene with? Another player character, or an NPC?
I would like to share the scene with Ez.
So we get all 3 of you in on this one.
I want everybody in, mainly so I can carry on writing up my skills while also role playing. It takes the pressure off me.
Okay, so yeah, you are on deck getting a breath of fresh air. It gets a bit musty underneath. You'll notice that I've been very generous and not made anybody roll to see if they get seasick. Half the characters are already familiar with boats, so it wouldn't be really appropriate anyway. But I thought that would be too much complication if I did that.
Yeah.
So yes, you are on deck getting a breath of air. And Ez is up there nearby. You've possibly tried to engage them a little bit in conversation and realised that that they're not actively antisocial. They just don't seem to want to say anything. Happy to stand there and listen to you talking, but they don't respond a great deal. And as you are doing this, you look out over the rail, and your first sight is of a splash. And at first you think maybe somebody's gone overboard, because off to one side and slightly behind the ship there is this splash of water. And then as you look in that direction to try and figure out what's happening, to see if you can see somebody there, you do indeed see a figure, but it is not a human one, as a dolphin breaks the surface again, or a second dolphin. It's hard for you to tell. Within a very short space of time, there are 3 or 4 of them bursting out of the water on a regular basis, swimming alongside the ship. And it is about at this point that the bosun just yells down the hatch to the lower decks. Master Kalwin, you may want to be on deck. Obviously, he does so with a Kundam accent that I am not doing.
Ez runs to sort of that. If Corwin isn't on deck, Ez runs to the door downstairs. Corwin, get up here!
Corwin emerges, and you can see that he's got a little satchel with him, and he runs as he looks around, and the bosun probably points to the back of to the side of the ship, and you see him head over.
And Ez is running ahead of you
quite quickly with his stride, and then
so
seeing
as you get there. Oh, sorry, carry on.
Oh, seeing the splashes of the dolphin, he immediately pulls out a small sketchbook and his pencils, and will just lean up against the rail and start sketching the scene before him. He doesn't actually engage with anybody else. He just starts.
He just focuses on the book, on the sketch. Yeah.
The drawing he's doing.
So as you get back to the rails, it becomes obvious to you, because you've turned away to call for Kalwin and come back again. So it's very obvious to you as you get back to the rails that these fish, they're not, I know they're not fish, this is an in-world mistake, not mine, that these large fish are actually moving faster than the boat. So they are gradually moving forward. And it doesn't take very long until they are leaping in and out of the water and flipping back and forth at the bow and in front of the ship, rather than having appeared at the back. They have a remarkable turn of speed when they want to, but for the most part, they then, they slow down and they are happily shadowing the ship. It's almost as if they consider it to be a part of their group. It's hard to count them because they're not all visible at any given time. They're going underwater and coming back up again. There are at least 4. There may be more. You're not 100% sure. They'll play away.
Okay, I'm going to ask, are they dangerous? And can you eat them?
Don't know. Corwin?
Let me roll to see whether the bosun is within earshot when you say that.
Like, Corwin just shakes his head, shrugs and carries. He doesn't look at either of you. If the question is directed at him, he just shrugs as if he didn't know. And
Ez is suddenly a lot more alive than they have been the entire time you two have been on deck.
So the bosun is within range. So he steps over. Swimming swimming is not actually a common skill among sailors. I know. So that's not a major issue.
Yes, it
on
is.
Your part.
Am I the only one who has swimming?
Yeah.
I have swimming 1.
I mean, Ez lived their whole life very inland. They hadn't really seen the ocean until they went off on a boat.
Thank you, Life Path. Due to an early history event, I have swimming 1.
You can actually swim because, despite the fact that the sailors don't necessarily know how to swim, it is in the same skill. It's a speciality of the same skill as your small boats.
It's in 2 different. Okay, it's 2 different specialities. Okay.
Is it? Where's the other one?
Well, it is under athletics.
It's not in the core rulebook.
Maybe it isn't in the core rulebook, but I added it. It makes sense for it to be under athletics. I'm absolutely fine with that.
You had sent in the
chat, that's another thing about the skill system in this, because Obsession is created as a multi-genre game. It's not necessarily going to use the same skill list everywhere. So skills that make sense are fine, and also speciality crossovers are fine. One of the things that I've done with it, for example, is to represent certain types of training. You can create a skill for that training and give it a bunch of specialities. And the way that works, those specialities, they only default internally. So swimming from athletics defaults to other athletic skills, but tells you nothing about sailing a boat. Swimming from transport water defaults when trying to sail a boat, but tells you nothing about other kinds of athletics. And the same applies whenever you find a speciality in more than one skill, that it only defaults internally within that skill, doesn't carry across to something else.
It's how do you know how to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about context and where does it come from.
Yeah, I wasn't objecting when I said, "Oh, it's not in the list there." It was just I was having I looked at this.
Yeah.
I did not see. Did I manage to miss it? But no, I didn't. Okay, that's fine. So she's got athletics, so she can doggy paddle.
The bosun has heard the query and gets a slightly mischievous look on his face as he steps over and says, "I'll say they can be dangerous. I've seen those things kill a shark."
I'm sorry, Fish. I feel the need to make a perception check against a skill I don't have.
Are you being skeptical here?
I am, and I don't have. And psychology's not a thing.
Psychology is a thing. It's part of the education skill.
I'm
but
buggered on that. So how do we do on untrained skills then, Fish?
Okay, so that depends on what you're using a skill for. Most uses of a skill are the combined roles that we introduced earlier on, where you add an attribute to a skill. If something is covered by a combined role, you just don't get the extra dice for the skill. It's purely an attribute roll at that point. If, on the other hand, it is something that is a particular piece of speciality skill or information, and then it would be a skill check and you don't get an attribute to it. In that case, if you don't have the skill, you don't have any dice.
reading his face to determine truth.
So that's probably intuition psychology. So you may get an intuition.
Yeah, intuition psychology would certainly work for that. So you can indeed make an intuition check, should you wish. I would also allow. I would allow this as kind of a passive use of a more active skill. So, for example, I would allow you to roll intuition and rhetoric as well. Because in addition to knowing how to influence others with your rhetoric, you obviously would be able to tell if someone else is trying to influence you. No, I mean rhetoric. I'm not saying you have rhetoric.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that if you have, that I know you have. I'm fairly certain you have carousing.
I have carousing, yes.
And rhetoric is part of the socializing skill, so it's a default of carousing.
Right. Okay.
So you could go into intuition rhetoric on this if you wished.
Mm-hmm. As it is, though, I'm just going to make an intuition check because I am going to do it on the psychology end of things, but I don't have psychology, so I am going to have a go at straight intuition.
I am going to give him...
Yes, I'm penalising myself.
Yep, I'm going to give him a determination rhetoric roll, because this is obviously an opposed roll. That does not mean he is lying. That means this is going to be an opposed roll, whether he's telling the truth or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a 10 and an 8. We ignore the 3.
So 2 successes against his 3 successes. So,
am I hallucinating, or am I thinking of a different system where a 10 counted as 2 successes or an explosion?
Oh yes, of course. You just said you said you rolled a 10, and I didn't.
I did.
It just went straight in one ear and out the other. Yes, that is an exploding die. That is a success, and you get to roll it again.
Dratch remembered a rule in the game that she is the only person who's played more than once.
If this is also a 10, it doesn't explode a second time. The dice only explode once.
That I remember. And it isn't. It is a 9.
Okay, so that's 3 successes each. So that is... It's kind of a draw. So had he beaten you, had it not exploded and given you that extra success, then I would have said that you were uncertain. You couldn't tell either way. Had he beaten you by more, you would have been convinced he was telling the truth. Had you beaten him, you would have known whether he was telling the truth or not. I would have given you an answer accordingly. Because it is evens, what I am going to say is that you both think you've come out of this on top.
Yeah.
He's fairly certain that he has convinced you. You are fairly certain that you know whether that you know he is exaggerating, you would say, rather than lying.
Yeah. How do they kill them?
Mostly, they ram them.
They ram.
I'll be honest though. I've never heard the tale of them attacking a person. Quite the opposite, in fact. They are dangerous to sharks. They are dangerous to sea creatures, but they will come to the aid of swimmers who are under attack.
Do you think if one were careful, one could persuade them to attack boats?
Kalwin looks at you askance, looks up from his drawing at that, and looks at you strangely. Yeah. Before going back to.
If
that has images of a pirate queen with an army of dolphins, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
Ez just shrugs and keeps staring.
I'm just thinking, if they're strong enough, this is all in character. If they're strong enough to kill a shark by headbutting them, then a shark and a small boat. Really, I don't think there's a great deal in it. I'm just wondering about, if with training and negotiation and that sort of thing, one could persuade them to ram and sink possibly boats, or maybe just destroy the rudder.
I don't think they could sink a boat. I don't know how you would train one, but perhaps if you could, you might be able to get it to overturn a rowboat. Yeah, a jolly boat.
Yes, almost
but
certainly.
Nothing of any
This
size.
This Kalwin pipes out. Most animals require a degree of incentive to do anything like that. And it has taken us many hundreds of years to domesticate animals. And he appraises, he assizes the dolphins, assuming that these creatures are equivalent to, say, a medium-sized deer. We really haven't had much luck in domesticating or taming deer. So I think you'd be probably on a hiding to nothing there, miss.
Well, I'm.
And if
These
you at least are
travel-
like level to them. These things
These
are in the
travel
water.
packs. Yes, these travel in a pack, which means there is a
So do
pack
men.
leader.
So do many things, but
Yes, but most things can't swim. I'm just wondering what I'm getting from you is I need to somebody would need to incentivize such things. So potentially lots of fish. Attack this, get fish.
I do not know what these creatures eat. I am not aware of my obviously. Sorry, my
Potentially
special.
sharks, actually, judging from from Bosun here.
My experience and knowledge is with land-based creatures.
Do they eat sharks?
Not that I know of. I don't know why he's suddenly turning into a pirate voice. I think it's you talking
I
about
don't know why she's suddenly
pirate
gone so
dolphins.
posh.
Yeah,
I don't know why she's suddenly gone
Yeah.
Watch one here.
You
Yeah.
start making plans for training
Yeah.
attack dolphins, and suddenly you become a representative of the British Empire.
I think it's that her family raised to at least sound posh, given what her family do for a living.
Blend
It's
into higher
all-
society.
Whereas Corvin's had to have posh thrust upon him.
Yeah.
Some were
and I
born
guess-
posh.
Yeah.
As
I
has
think-
lost much of their poshness.
Yeah. I think inherently she probably not affects, but she probably leans into, under normal circumstances, her mother's accent, which is lesser Kundine. So that's where she is normally. But I think her father probably had a slightly more upper class accent because it was part of his front, for want of a better term.
Actually, on that note, when Corwin looked up and probably slightly turned towards you to address your question, or to butt in, basically,
Yeah. No,
you will have
butt in.
probably will have spotted on his tunic jacket the crest of one of the Greater Kundine princedoms. So you may not recognize his family badge, but you would definitely you would probably recognize if you're associated with like the princedom of Lesser Kundine.
Yeah, the
But I wouldn't say associated.
No, but
She's a street
you're-
kid, but
you
Your,
might recognize the insignia.
your lesser and greater Kundine, respectively, depending on which parent you're coming from, aren't you? So you
Yeah.
have. So yeah, and given that the posh side of your accent is coming from Greater Kundine, the more that creeps into your speech, the more you sound like Corvin.
okay, that works.
Actually, yeah, we're coming at it from like two different directions,
Yeah.
from the opposite directions to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, your accent is sort of fading into normalcy by being around normal people, much like Ez's did long time ago. And now,
Yeah. I seem to recall
Come for the fantasy
it's
adventure.
just-
Stay for the discussion of training attack dolphins and linguistic differences.
Sorry.
No,
What are you apologising
It's
for?
characters.
I'm wondering if I can work out how to get them helmeted.
the
'Cause
witch
that's going to help
Yeah.
if I wanted to use them as attack dolphins. Then some kind of protective helmet.
I'll remind the party and chat if you go and look up the Witcher game that Drup ran for us a couple of years ago. The notion of training attack animals is not a new one because of the attack armadillos that we got in season
Yes.
2 of the Witcher game.
In my
That has
defense,
reminded me to
they-
watch that. Jeez.
In my defense, they were in a DLC. Admittedly, it was an April Fool's DLC. I'm fairly sure.
They were, regardless,
It's still in there.
They were in
Yep.
your game, and you
Yes.
gave them to Spud.
Oh God.
Why did I do that? Spud with a baby armadillo under one arm is going to live with me forever as he evaded that sniper.
Yep.
Big eye, little baby armadillo. That is big. No, it wasn't armadillo. Sorry. Oh God.
No, Anteater. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
No,
I thought it was armadillo.
I'm sure they were armadillos.
armadillos. No, it's the
Crunchy on the
What's up?
On
outside.
the outside.
I don't.
Uh,
Sorry, fish.
yeah.
Yep, okay.
But
Brits of
no,
a certain
Corwin,
era
like,
all know that one with the armadillos.
once he has said his piece, Corwin goes back to sketching.
Yeah.
That-
Well, we've
that's
definitely
the
learnt
most
something about one of the characters, at least, in that scene.
She's imaginative. What can I say?
Yeah, no kidding.
Also, and actually that might be a psychology check, but probably not. She is prone to getting people to engage if possible. If she can see someone's interested in something, that's a way into their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Basically hit on you basically touched on Corwin's knowledge of animals. Whilst he doesn't have animal handling per se, by default it's at 2 since my animal law is at 4. So
yeah.
you basically hit on his pet topic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you will. It is very obvious that Ez is fascinated by this. Like they are the classic half bouncing sort of like, oh, look at that, at the moment.
If this were a different time or he had a different upbringing, Corwin would be a zoologist.
Yeah,
But that makes the New Frontier perfect, of course, because it's a continent that is being reopened. Could be all kinds of things there that you would never see on Kundheim.
But because he has had to have a practical basis, he is a hunter or an archer.
He would, in the modern world, he
he's a
would be
gamekeeper.
hunting with a camera rather than a bow, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
yeah.
like officially, he is a gamekeeper / hunter.
The theory I'm working on is she doesn't really know these people, and the whole attack dolphin thing is she is playing it up. She's being silly,
Yeah.
but she's doing it in a way that she can see they are interested in the animals, and she sees this a way of getting them to open up, if only to start telling her why she's wrong and it can't work. As much as anything.
And whether it is being done deliberately or not, she is forming bonds with her fellow travellers, who she knows are, at the end of this journey, all going to be strangers in a new place. Better to be strangers in a new place with a couple of people who aren't so strange. Or actually might be very strange, but at least you know them.
Yeah, exactly. And the more people you have who are at least well disposed towards you, to watch your back, for example, should something go horribly wrong, or the family turn up, then frankly, the better. And it's building support structures for each other.
Fairly
Um,
certain for your character, family turning up falls under something goes wrong.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
very much.
at no point do I ever want to step on people's roleplay. This is a role-playing game, after all. But we have a couple more scenes to go through before arrival. Looks like the timing is going to work out that we're going to end as you arrive at Kalwin's Bay. So this is going to be a nice introductory roleplay session where we've got to know the characters, and then next session, next month, we will get onto what happens to them in Kalwin's Bay. But unless you want to carry this on, which you are welcome to do, as I say, I'm not going to step on any roleplay, but if you think you've established enough from this scene, we can move on to the next one.
Yep.
And that is going to be...
Corwin's going to finish up his sketch and then kind of like put the book away. And once they've disappeared or gone, the dolphins have gone on their way, he will kind of like, again, sit down, lean back against guns, and start doing some finishing touches to the sketch. And that's going to occupy him unless anyone else interrupts him or drags him away or something like that.
The dolphins will accompany the ship for somewhere between 1 and 2 hours, probably before they get bored and go away. And then you can obviously do as you said. You can then start making the notes based on what you've observed for that time, and filing it all and adding finishing touches to the sketches and that kind of thing, and then life carries on. And the next scene, which is going to be for Ezra, is let's make a rough guess and say there's going to be another day and a half or so of travel. And then the ship comes in sight properly of Geredrosol and the New Frontier. To be precise, the first thing that you see is obviously just that smudge on the horizon that gradually becomes coastline. And as you're sailing forward, it looks at first like there may be 2 separate islands here. Then you start seeing some rock structures sticking out of the water near to the coastline, and indeed, because it's daylight, it takes you a while to recognise it, but a lighthouse. And that's, as you are approaching, that is to the right, is the lighthouse. And you gradually come to realise that you are entering into a wide bay, which must be the Kalwin's Bay of which you have heard so much. Would you like to roll me a d10 and see who is on deck with you?
2.
2. That's Chrono, looking for more dolphins, obviously. So yeah, you are both there as you see the ship is heading into. It is a wide area indeed. To the extent that technically, theoretically, without some elevation, you can't actually see both sides of this bay. I'm bending physics a little bit to give us some description here. But aardvarks, that was it. Out of context aardvarks.
Sorry.
But you are coming in from... you're coming into, let's say, closer towards the western coast here. The lighthouse is is more on the eastern side. So primarily what you're seeing over there is you're seeing the cliffs and the taller rock structures off the coast. And of course you're seeing faintly you're seeing the top of a lighthouse, but it is many miles to the east-northeast of where the ship is coming in. As the ship sails into the bay, it's approached this western coastline and then follows the coastline up into the bay proper. You pass what looks like possibly a fishing village, or it's a bit big for a village, so a fishing port town on that western coast as you head in. And then sometime later, a more definite fishing village. This is, on this side, it's not cliffs. It's cliffs on the east. You can see cliffs to the east. But on this side, it's a fairly gentle slope down to the water. So the town and village, and indeed, should either of you ask, one of the sailors will be able to identify the town as Ketchton, which is not somewhere you've ever heard of, but is clearly a town in the Kalwin's Bay area. And then as you sail further up, more details become apparent, and you see land to the west. You see land that is mostly rolling plains and hills with some trees, fairly gentle, and it looks very habitable land. It looks like good land in that direction. Hillier to the east, there you have got cliffs. The height of the land varies, so at some points you're dealing with quite high cliffs, at others they're not so high, and then at others you do find that the land slopes directly into the sea as you head in. And other than being rockier and hillier in that direction, again, it looks like good fertile land and mostly untouched. You see a few traces of farming activity, particularly around Ketchton, and the two fishing villages that you see, one on the west and then a little bit later one on the east, as the bay narrows right down. I mean, it never narrows that far. It's still right on the edge of your vision. But this is, at your first experience of it, this looks like land where a farmer or indeed a gamekeeper could certainly find plenty to do. You've heard stories, however, of adventure in Geredrosal, and these stories primarily involve travelling further north up the River Tranthal towards the region known as the Peak's Edge. A lot of people back home in Kundheim or Lunma will refer to the Peak's Edge as meaning the whole of this new frontier. But more correctly, it refers to the area further north towards the mountains, hence the name Peak's Edge. And it is in that area where things are a little bit wild. Around Kalwin's Bay, it's now well settled. It was settled 150 odd years ago, so it's now, in fact, longer than that, nearly 200 years ago. And it is now a well-established area with, a solid fishing industry, plenty of farms to support it, and a lot of trade coming mainly through the prime city port of Kalwin's Bay, where new arrivals to Geredrosal land, as you are going to be doing, and goods from Geredrosal, quite often the proceeds, the results of its largely untouched natural resources, are shipped out. So lumber, furs, minerals, things like that, shipped back to the other continents. But you're still quite away from Kalwin's Bay. You have not come into sight of the port itself as yet, but you are sailing in as this bay gradually narrows down to... It varies as you're approaching Kalwin's Bay towards the further end, which is to say you're not there yet, but you can see it narrowing in ahead of you. It goes to probably about 5 to 10 miles across. So it's still a big open area. But the entrance to it is quite rocky, and you can see as you're heading in that the ship is very carefully plotting its course to avoid coming too close to either bank at various places. But they do seem to know what they're doing, and there is a lot of wide open space in between that they can work with. So that's what you are experiencing. How are you responding to this or reacting to this?
Ez looks up from whatever they might be playing with, probably just messing around with some figurines they've carved at some point, and she's like, strange seeing such untouched land.
Definitely wider expanse than remains on Kuntheimer.
Yeah, I mean,
And he sounds thoughtful more than anything.
S does too, just sort of odd. I mean, Lumna is the remains of an empire. It's nothing's untouched there.
Yeah, there's plenty of open spaces in Lumber, but it is all cultivated, essentially.
Yeah.
The hand of man is everywhere.
Yeah. So it's like lots of open space, but nothing like this. This is just untouched. And no one here who knows me.
God. Tell me you're being haunted.
Not really.
Is that
Party of desperados.
good thing?
Or just desperate.
Yeah, I don't look like a fighter for nothing. Let's just say that.
And then, like, yeah, he looks thoughtfully at the kind of cliffs and like just mostly staring out across the waters and such, and occasionally, like, depending on how long this is taking, like, again, companionable silent, and he'll also do the odd bit of like landscape sketching as well.
Make me a roll on, we'll call it observation, because you're actively looking to do your sketches. So it's going to be an observation attribute added to perception awareness, or if you have a different perception speciality, you'll get the default of that for awareness.
Okay, so so observation is a derived value. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 3. So I have notice. So I take half.
Half of that, yeah.
Okay, so that's $5. And you say I'm looking for 5s and up.
5s and above, yeah.
That is 3, a 977.
Okay, so yeah, as you are starting to sketch this, they're too far away for you to be able to identify any great detail, but you see a small herd of creatures running along close to the bank that from this distance you think are probably deer. Not necessarily the same deer, the same specific species as the ones that you are used to, but it is, even at this distance, fairly obvious that they are either deer or something very like. So straight away there you are, you've identified that there is both something new here, new experience, and also something comfortably familiar in the form of creatures whose behavior and activity you are quite familiar with. And worst case scenario, you'll be able to eat.
Yes, unless these are toxic, not deer.
Ah, yes, the toxic not deer.
Oh dear.
I think rather than roll any dice, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to assume, unless one of you indicates otherwise, which the impression I'm getting is that you're going to be watching the journey in. So what I will do is, rather than roll for the final scene, I will simply have Drut's character come up on deck as you get closer to Kalwin's Bay. And the final scene is as the docks themselves, the city itself, comes into view ahead of you. You see, the bay has been getting gradually closer, but as I said, it never really gets much closer than about 5 miles. So without the fact that you're slightly elevated on the deck of a ship, you wouldn't really be able to see that coastline at all. But as you are coming up towards the city, as the city first begins, as the towers of the city, the higher buildings in the city first begin to creep over the horizon, as you are passing through a pair of fishing villages, almost as if they have been positioned deliberately across from one another on either side of the bay, almost as if they are guarding the bay. But you can just see them clearly enough to see that they are simply fishing villages. They're fair-sized fishing villages. They look very busy. You can see a lot of small boats bobbing around. They don't come out quite as far as the path that your ship is taking towards Kalwin's Bay, but certainly close enough that you're beginning to get some communication between the fishing boats, hailing the ship as it comes past. Nobody seems to have anything particularly of interest to say, but presumably if there was important news, they would be passing this on at this point. But you pass between those two villages, and gradually Kalwin's Bay begins to grow up ahead of you. It is a good-size city, and it stands next to, rather than athwart, the River Trantha. It's entirely on the east side of the river. The city does not extend to the west side of the river for some reason, but it does curve around it does arc around the curve of the bay to some extent. You've heard from the research that you did, your basic education and the research that you might have done before coming here. You've heard that it was originally the first 2 settlements of the new frontier when the area was resettled, and they gradually grew together and formed into a single city, the city of Kalwin's Bay. And as you get closer to it, a small boat, exactly the sort of thing that you know how to sail, heads out towards your ship and puts a pilot on board to guide you towards the docks. Is there anything in particular you're paying attention to, or any observations that you want to make as you're approaching the docks?
What are the hazards that the pilot is navigating through? Is it simply just access to the harbour, or are there reefs, rocks?
So are you asking this, or are you just going to try and stay close enough to observe?
She's going to actually ask. But she might not ask the pilots specifically because they're busy. But if she can find the bosun or the captain.
Yeah, okay, let's just make this... The captain's going to be busy at this point because obviously that's who the pilot is going to be interacting with. Yeah. But I'll make this just a random chance roll. We'll say... Essentially, we'll make this as a 1 dice pool roll with a threshold number of 5, so 6 or higher, and you will be able to identify be able to snag the bosun between his other tasks.
No, I failed. I think I'm going to be muttering it under my breath, though, and that will be audible to the other two.
Okay. I am going to assume that even though you were hoping to find someone that you could ask, that your ears are going to be straining somewhat for the to catch any sound that does drift down from where the pilot is doing his job. So we will make that an observation rather than alertness again.
Okay.
check. And again, on perception, actually has a detect noise speciality. So I'm assuming you
Well,
do
I
not
don't
have that. You will get a default of whatever perception skill you have.
Okay. So
And this is a combined roll, so if you don't have a perception skill, you're still rolling your observation.
I have perception awareness. Is it rounding mathematically or is it rounding down?
It rounds down.
Okay. So still only one.
Yeah, because theoretically you could argue, and indeed it is an advanced optional rule, that the defaults will keep the decimals for purposes of increasing them. I'm not using that for this. That's getting too much bookkeeping.
Yeah. For
But
opposed,
of course,
though, that
until
would
you've
make
got a
sense.
full 10 points, it isn't another die. So 1.5 is one die.
Breaking a tiebreaker on an opposed roll, though, that makes sense. Right.
Yeah, well, I'll mention this now because I am very rarely going to offer this to you, but feel free to ask for it at any given point.
Okay.
As you begin to develop the decimal values on your skills as you develop them, in a dramatic situation, I can be persuaded to allow you to roll a d10, and if it is equal to or lower than the decimal value, you get the extra die. But that's an optional rule that, as standard, we won't use that. But if there's a dramatic situation where you really want the extra die and you've got 0.4 in that skill, then you can beg for it. Because I'm always happy to have players beg.
I am getting, it's going to be we are getting our asses kicked, and therefore.
Yes. Can I get the extra die on this attack, please? Yeah, it's a thing.
So for this, detect noise, did you say intuition and?
No, I said observation, and because it is a perception check, and they're also almost always done on observation.
Right.
Well, observation or alertness. Observation for when you are actively observing something, and alertness for when you're not, and you might just notice it out of the corner of your eye or corner of your ear.
Observation was a derived skill. Sorry, my apologies.
Derived stat, yeah.
Yeah, derived stat. Sorry.
So you. Without looking, I'm guessing you've probably got 3 observation dice, and
I have, yes,
and probably a die from the defaults detect noise.
Yes, I'm rolling 4 dice again.
This is actually quite a tricky roll, so I'm going to make this I think I'm going to make this a threshold number 6. So you need 7s and above.
Okay. Right, okie dokie. Having nearly lost one of my dice, I do not appreciate that. So that doesn't. The 9 and the 7 do.
Okay, so right. So first off, you get a use in detect noise because you've made a roll at a threshold number higher than 4.
Yep.
And succeeded. You also get the first die. Hitting the success target is basically enough to identify the pilot's voice. And the extra success, will actually give you some information. There are not actually any reefs, but there are some rocks. And the pilot is here primarily to make sure that the ship does not run aground on any of those rocks while approaching. Except at extremely low tide, none of them are visible below the water, but they could cause trouble for particularly for a vessel that is heavily laden.
Yeah,
as this one sort of is. You will also catch, I think, just as a bonus, I will give you that you can catch enough of the Captain Arias' conversation with the pilot to gather that he can probably make this approach on his own, because he has been to Kalwin's Bay on numerous occasions. Yeah. It's a regular journey for him, but that the city ordinances basically require that a member of the Pilots Guild come out and guide the ship in. It's a legal requirement.
Yeah,
as is quite common in most of these cities.
Yeah.
So that would make the Pilots Guild, Pilots and Navigators Guild, probably quite an important one in Kalwin's Bay.
Yeah, that makes sense at all, indeed. Okay, So yeah, she's going to pay attention to the route he directs them in on.
Yeah.
If she
Okay.
can try and line up any landmarks.
Make me a, I think we'll call it determination and determination and ship handling. So I'm afraid it's not small boats. It is going to be ship handling.
Damn. Okay, no problem.
There is a navigation skill, isn't there?
There is.
There is, but what I'm basing this more on translating it into what is being done with the ship rather than the specific navigation data.
Yeah.
Or translating it from what's being done with the ship, really.
Determination. Okay, so my determination is, oh look, a 3.
These are
It's
not
not
uncommon.
that everyone has the same stats, by the way. It's that I've got very consistent stats. I just happen to roll them that way.
I think most things are going to fall into the 50 to 69 range, which is a threat.
Yeah, there is quite a lot of
Okay.
that. So for
I only have
for
one
most
at 4.
for most player characters and NPCs, you're looking at sort of 2 to 4 on any given attribute, and exceptional individuals might go up to 5 or beyond, but 5 is unlikely to go beyond 5.
Yeah.
Is it a standard threshold number or is it the harder one still?
This is going to be a standard threshold number because this is
excellent.
You're not straining to hear now. You're just applying your knowledge in a fairly mundane way.
Okay, so I did get 4 successes, but the 10 did not get me an extra 1.
Okay, so yeah, feel free to make a note anywhere that you want. There's no, there's no mechanics attached to this. Feel free to make a note that you do now know some of. You couldn't just go out and become a pilot, but you certainly know the safe route into the docks at Kalwin's Bay to some extent.
Okay.
It's enough that if you ever do find yourself navigating a ship into Kalwin's Bay and remind me of that, the threshold number will be slightly lower.
Did you say there was a land? Did you say there was the lighthouse?
The lighthouse is miles behind you, but a long way behind you now. That was on the approach to the bay itself.
Right. Okay.
There probably are navigational lights at the city, at the port, and possibly even a few buoys out, or buoys if you're insisting on pronouncing it that way, along this path.
What I was going
but
to
the problem
say,
with buoys in this era is, of course, they don't have electric lighting, with the result that in order to keep them working, somebody's got to row out and refill the oil lamps.
Yeah. Now, what I was going to say is I'm going to turn to Chrono, whose character name I cannot remember.
Corvin.
And Corvin, that was it. And any chance you could dash me off a quick sketch? Just the approach to the port, if that's okay. Just from where we are.
Sure. I mean, he'll take out a new piece of parchment and kind of like how, and then he'll stop and just do what he can, and basically take the time up until we dock, basically. Although I guess a little once the captain announces that we are docking, he'll hand off the sheet to her, and then go down to his cabin to get his stuff.
Yeah.
So
when she gets a chance, she's going to note down what she knows of the route on the sketch, because she saw him doing anatomical drawings, basically, of the dolphins. So she knows he's into accuracy.
Now, I am now going to ask Chrono specifically and say, Shut up, Drut, because you've said what your character said, so you don't get to clarify this. How is Corvin interpreting the request? What are you actually drawing?
Corwin is doing what she asked, to draw, to sketch the view looking forward from this point.
That's what I thought. So it's not a map, which would have been perhaps slightly different.
It's not a map.
Thing.
He's not
Nope.
I deliberately did not take cartography.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have sketching, you can default to cartography, but that's not what you're doing here. This is a sketch.
That's not what was asked.
That's what I was where I was going with this. I wanted to know how that was going to come out. So, can we get an observation?
It is a forward-facing view of basically the bay and what I can see from the prow, basically.
Right, so I'm going to make this observation and sketching, because I think in this instance it's more about seeing the detail than it is about, say, for example, agility, drawing something that's fiddly.
Yeah. Standard?
Yep, this will be standard.
So 5 up. Yep. That is 4.
Okay, so I am going to very quickly... Now, this is... I haven't got a specific system for the mechanic for this, but I'm going to apply a mechanic that I have in the back of my head that I use for various things, which is that first success target of 1. So 1 success means you have successfully drawn something. You've drawn the right thing, and then that will be, in game terms, that will be a 1-star drawing. So a second success ups that to 2 stars. And then at that point, it gets to be, it's cumulative. So then there's another 2 successes to take it to 3 stars, which is where you then run out of successes. So, Drut, you have got a 3-star. Make a note of this in your equipment. You've now got a 3-star sketch of the approach to Kalwin's Bay. Okay. And that 3 stars becomes important both for trying to get information from it, and also if you decided that you were short of cash and wanted to sell it, the higher the quality of the sketch, the more it's going to be worth.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's much appreciated.
As has at some point in that interaction vanished off down below deck to fetch their things.
Okay. So yeah, the pilot, after guiding the ship on its general approach, then also guides it to a specific berth, having come out here knowing what berth is assigned to that vessel. It's all been worked out in advance as they saw it coming, and looked at where they could put it. So it is brought gently in to dock here in Kalwin's Bay, and that is where we are going to end for today.
Mm-hmm.
So the one last thing that I will do, so next time we will open with you with an introductory bit of blurb from me as you arrive at Kalwin's Bay and your first experiences of that city. But excellent. The last thing that I want to do before we say goodbye is I want to give out some experience.
So excited.
As I said earlier, you improve your skills by using them, but experience can be used to effectively shorten that process, and also sometimes to do things like none of these characters have them, but if you have taken any effectively disadvantages during character creation to get some extra points, you can buy them off with XP, and you can use XP to buy new things like suddenly learning to see in the dark. That kind of totally unreasonable stuff that games always let you do. So, I am going to
I've bought myself new eyes.
Yeah.
What do your elf eyes see? I'll let you know.
I'll let you know when I found an elf, and then...
I am going to give everyone the Player Entertains the Group Through Exceptional Role-Playing award. So you will all have 1 experience point for the roleplay, because I have enjoyed being introduced to your characters over the course of this session. I think we've learnt enough about them to get a feel for who they are, while still leaving enough questions that we want to know more. So well done for that.
Okay.
You will get an experience point for that. That's really going to be the only one that you earn for today. You know, you haven't solved any tricky puzzles or had any combat, and you have completed a scenario goal, technically. But you have completed a short or easy scenario goal, that goal being introduce us to the characters. Unfortunately, that's 0 XP for a short or easy scenario goal. You have to have something a little bit longer or harder to earn experience for it. As I say, though, you'll primarily improve your skills by using them. The experience points just give you a little bit more versatility. So you've got that 1 point. Essentially, I said that you need a number of uses to get a 0.1. You can spend experience point as if it were a use. So for skills that are only rated at 1, for example, each experience point is 0.1 on that skill. You can spend 10 experience points and suddenly have 2 skill levels if you build up 10 experience points. So even though you've only earned 1, at the lower skill levels, they can be quite significant, and they can speed things up at the higher skill levels where you're trying to get where you're going.
Yeah.
So, thank you for playing. Thank you for watching, whether you have been here live with us in chat today, or whether you are watching this on YouTube when I hopefully have remembered to actually export it and post it there. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen and are keen to see what happens to these characters next. So let's go through our players once again to say goodbye, and they can tell you where else you can find them and what they have planned for, well, really for the next month, since that's how long it is between sessions. Chrono.
Yes, hello. For anyone who may not know, you can find me on twitch.tv/Chrono Magistrate, and I stream on Wednesday evenings at 5 p.m. GMT and a couple of other ad hoc times. So I'll be streaming tomorrow afternoon, carrying on with the economically dystopian game of No Umbrellas Allowed, as we try and avoid the ministrations and the dictates of a somewhat fascistic government. I know I said I'm a chill gamer, but
chill fascist.
This is one of the more horrifying. This is one of the more unsettling games that Chrono has played.
Yeah, ostensibly a second-hand shop salesman, and that is the conceit of the game. It's just there happens to be a rather dark narrative around it. And then I'm hoping to finish that up this week, and then maybe move on to something a little bit more cozy with Beacon Pines, probably from next week. So yeah, twitch.tv/Chrono Magistrate or Chrono Magistrate on most social media.
Okay, Drat.
Yes, you can find me on Twitch and YouTube as Drutacup, and I'm trying to shift my platform mostly over to YouTube, although I am currently streaming to both. So yes, Monday evening, I'm going to go on for next week, but Monday evening I will be from 7 o'clock doing a book club reading of a chapter of The Tale of the Amulet by E. Nesbit. E. Nesbit, a classic British children's author. I had not realised, I never knew how wild her kids' books got. Do not believe the staid adaptations.
Children's literature.
Arson down. And following that, I will be carrying on with Ken. So some more, I'd say chill mountain climbing, but terrifying mountain climbing in a beautiful game. This Thursday, so that's my Monday evenings for the next few weeks. This Thursday, I am going to be hopefully in multiplayer with Fish, I believe. Because I believe you're not working.
Nope, I have Thursday, Friday off this week, so I'm looking forward to getting some multiplayer gaming in on Thursday.
Yep. Possibly Divinity Original Sin.
But possibly
FBC
Firebreak.
Firebreak.
Yes, which I have yet to play at all. So I would need to be feeling particularly positive to play it completely blind. So whether we're playing that might depend on whether or not I've got a chance to get a test game in of it beforehand. Or I might just make a complete fool of myself by going in with no clue what I'm doing. That could be fun as well.
I did. Do not play it solo. No solo.
That is tough.
Idea.
Firebreak.
I know.
Solo,
but I look forward to playing it with somebody who I actually know and trust, and who I can be on voice calls with.
Or failing that, me.
Or failing that, you. Yeah, I didn't say competent. And then on subsequent Thursday evening streams, I am going to be back on probably Elite Dangerous for a while, alternating with Sniper Elite Resistance. So, yeah, I'm not sure where Wholesome comes in on that.
Full of holes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to see the brains of people that shoots them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. If you have
and other internal organs
exam coming up, if you have any medical exams coming up, you will get a good idea of the internal workings of the human body with the Sniper Elites. I do love Rebellion.
Yes.
So, Alia.
So yes, that's on to you, Alia.
Yeah, I'm found on Twitch at _Busky, and Tumblr and Blue Sky the Busky, no underscore there. Yeah, I will be streaming Sundays at 7 p.m. as usual, with more Witcher 3. So long as my Twitch, not my Twitch, my Switch, yeah, close enough, cooperates. It mostly is. And other than that, on my socials, you will find me posting progress updates on my writing.
Yes.
Novelist.
And you can interact with all four of us on the Hobby Gamers International Discord. So if you're already on that Discord, then just say hi and tell us what you thought, how you enjoyed or didn't enjoy the game today. If you're not on that Discord, then keep an eye out for links for it. I don't have one at the moment on this channel that I can bring up easily, but I know that Drut does. As for myself, I kind of dropped off streaming a bit. I dropped off streaming a few years ago, and last year I started streaming again. But I kind of dropped off streaming a bit over the holiday period at the end of the year. I've not yet restarted my Mapper Monday streams, which is the main thing that I do, which is a unspecified time on a Monday afternoon. I do some cartography streams, talking about mapping for role-playing games in general, doing some mapping, usually using Campaign Cartographer 3, but occasionally using other things, such as, for example, putting maps together directly within the Fantasy Grounds virtual tabletop, using assets, available assets for that. Or I need to learn how to do, put maps together within Foundry, so I might be doing some streams of that at some point. It is possible that my Mapper Monday streams might move. Part of the reason that I haven't got back to doing them is I've simply not been up early enough to stream them without overlapping with Drut's Monday stream, which I prefer not to do for obvious reasons. So it may be that I find myself shifting and some of those Mapper Monday streams being on Monday afternoons before Drat streams, and some of them being after Drat streams later on a Monday night. But those are chill streams that are just sitting and doing some mapping and talking about gaming or whatever else comes into our mind. My other channel, because yes, I have two channels, I'm greedy. My other channel is Fish Not Fish, for the spelling of which I would recommend waiting until looking at the cooldown screen when we go away, because it'll be written on screen for you. And that is where I do any video games or board games or what have you type streams happen on there. So Thursday, for example, when I'm multiplaying with Druck, I will be streaming that on Fish Not Fish at the same time. And I'm playing an awful lot of Elite Dangerous lately. I really ought to be streaming more of it on Twitch rather than just on Discord. So I'm trying to get myself back into that. But obviously being badgered by people saying, when are you streaming, would help. And that doesn't happen often enough at the moment. So it's a thing. It might happen. Meanwhile, this game is... And unless something goes wrong, this is slated for the first Tuesday of every month playing this. We might have to shift it some months if people can't make it. I'd rather get the once a month with everybody than absolutely have to be on that specific day. But that's the goal, is that we will do some more of this once a month on the first Tuesday of every month.
Will be questionable.
And they will all be going up onto YouTube. So in addition to being able to watch us live, you can, of course, if that's too long a gap to bother tracking, you can just wait a few months and then maybe binge a few episodes and see where it goes. Yeah. That will go up on my personal YouTube, which is, again, Fish Not Fish. I don't have a specific YouTube for Leashing Bar guests, but it'll probably also, I would imagine, get linked by the people who are involved on their channels anyway. So yeah, thank you again for being here. Hopefully we will see you again next time. And unless anybody has anything further that they wish to add, I shall say goodbye and press the button.